Um, Super happy to be here. I very rarely get to speak in Finland, and I'm enjoying myself completely. I've never ever spoken at HelSec, so even cooler. And I actually had absolutely no idea how to find myself here. Luckily, a few of people here with me were tailgating into the absolutely incorrect building. Got in, and we were at the door, and then the guy just like turned to us and he asked, "Do you have a yearly subscription?" Like, for HelSec? No, golf. No, sorry, I'm trying to find HelSec. Oh, wrong place. Oh, okay. But we got into the building, so. Anyway, now that I am here, what I'm going to talk about is my dear topic. I built this deck today from all sorts of different decks, but I didn't even remember what I was supposed to talk about. But the talk is apparently called Cornerstones of Windows Security. Short introduction: my name is Sami Laiho. I am a newly appointed Chief Research Officer for TrueSec. I've been self-employed for 12 years. I've been working in IT for more than half of my life, and I established Sovelto originally, which was a training company, and whatever, all sorts of stuff in between. But I've been self-employed for 12 years, and now I went back to work. It's actually, I didn't even. This computer was actually, I just bought a new one like a year ago, but I was self-employed, so I paid everything myself, which meant that I thought I couldn't afford an OLED screen or anything. But this time they called me and said that now that you're employed by us, do you need a computer? Yeah. What kind of a computer? What options? Anything. Anything? Okay, I want a X1 Yoga with 32 gigs of RAM and 2 terabytes of SSD and a 5G connection and an OLED screen. Okay, is that all? A webcam? Sure. Jabra phones? Cool. Okay, let me just think for a while. Wife! What do we need? Anyway, it has its ups and downs. Good and bads. But anyway, now I'm trying to get back to Finland. I've traveled around the world speaking in different conferences for many, many years and trying to establish my presence back here in my dear home country. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the core operating system. I've been working with, actually Windows NT will turn 30 next year, which is horrifying because I basically worked with it since it was published. And that makes me feel really, really freaking old. Anyway, I've been teaching operating systems, and I actually changed to security about maybe 7 years ago. I used to go around conferences where they had different sessions on security and different security conferences as well, and I hated security sessions in general. Because, first of all, every session I went to was, I hack you like this, 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 and then everyone walks out of the room like, my company sucks. So I didn't really like the way everyone was just, no one was mitigating anything, everyone was just bragging how much they can hack and who. And then the other one was that every single demo was done against improper configuration of the operating system. If you read the book from 1993, which is NT 3.1 User Guide, which has a security guide which is barely visible. But anyway, if you read that book and configured it as it was supposed to be configured, almost none of the demos would work. Getting back to having maybe 2 to 5% of interesting demos at Black Hat or DEF CON because everything else is using local admin. And the book says that there is no security in Windows if you log on as an admin. There is a specification in that book that says that the security subsystem is not built to withstand the use of admin rights. So, okay, I get it if you're talking about home users who need to be admins, but if we're talking about company and enterprise environments, then boo. Like, I mean, not interesting. Only interesting is when you elevate from a limited user, which is a lot more rare. Anyway, so I wanted to build security sessions, but based on kind of properly configured enterprise environments. So that's why this session now exists since today. Anyway, now I'm a Chief Research Officer. My title is only because Mikko Hyppönen is Chief Research Officer. There's absolutely no other reason for this. I used to be my previous title for my own company was Senior Technical Fellow, because the highest rank that you can get at Microsoft is a Technical Fellow. And Markus Sinovich, which I hope you know, Markus Sinovich was a Technical Fellow. So when in 2013 I started touring around the bigger conferences, I needed them to remember me. Small guy from Finland, nothing special. So I needed them to remember me, so I printed all my business cards with Senior Technical Fellow. So everyone was like, what the hell, there's the young guy from Finland who's already a Senior Technical Fellow. So I have my own company, I can pick up my titles. Now I chose my title, I told them at TrueSec, I'll work for you, but I can't manage people, so I need to be able to pick my own CEO, and I need to be a Chief Research Officer. But that's not even, I'm not trying to be like a Senior Chief Research Officer or anything like that. It's actually a tribute to Mikko. My idol in many, many ways. So that's why that, but it actually worked out very well. I was in Stockholm in our headquarters. It's like 200 people working there, and I went in and I was like, I'm just working here for a day, here for an event. So you need a badge. Yeah, please give me a badge. And they gave me a badge, and then I tried to go into the office where all the cool guys are working there, all the consultants I knew from they used to be speakers as well, and I know them already. And I went there and tried to get in, and I was like, no, it doesn't work. I can't get in. Like, how can I get in? Went back to the security, and I was like, my badge doesn't work. How can I get into the office? No, sorry, you're chief, so only the management office. Okay. Then I went there and it's like unlocked the management office, went in and like gigantic screens and beverages, and I was like, wow. I didn't really enjoy my time there, like really boring people, but I couldn't put anything on my screen because everything looked like inappropriate. In a way, it's like they had their management stuff and I'm like a geek, so I want to get my keys to work to the normal side again. But anyway, I'm a chief. You can find me on Twitter at Sami Laiho. Start with a quote from Mikko, and I'll explain why these quotes are here. There's a few quotes here from different people. So you don't have to make your security perfect, just better than your neighbors. And currently we have so much opportunistic attacks that what you really need to do is just scare people off so much that they'll attack someone else. We have a big SOC. I see a lot of information gathered, and I can see how they work. And one of the funniest things is that we have a lot of cases where we can see that someone actually gets access to a domain admin account, gets in, but realizes that they can't log on anywhere. They're just stuck there. They give up. Next victim. I mean, you have to look that you're done your job better than your neighbors. There's no reason to attack you unless you're targeted. I mean, that's a different thing. We have two totally different categories here. We got the opportunistic attacks and we got the ones that are actually of interest to someone. Everyone is laughing at me. I do security audits and I always pinpoint a stupid thing. Everyone says it's a stupid thing, but I always point out that you got an Azure logon page and you did not change your company logos to it. And everyone is like, Sami, we pay a lot of money to you for these audits, and that's what you found out? But honestly, it's really important. That's the first thing you see. If you see everything default on the logon page, these people do not care. They're not taking care of anything else either if they don't even take the time to do this properly. That's the front door. Front door looks like someone takes care of it. Why not try the next one? Anyway, I wrote a blog post about half a year ago. I got it translated into Ukrainian, and it's also available now on my blog in Finnish and in English as well. Probably most of the stuff that you're going to hear today will be there as well. So if you want to have some place that has any kind of more technical background than we have time for here, check the blog. Someone posted me a message today that Malwarebytes actually blocks my blog. So I've been DDoSed since yesterday. I don't know if it had anything to do with the article at Yle, but and who's DDoSing me, but someone is. So hopefully you can get in, get lucky. At least mine was. It wasn't blocked by anything else, but I don't know why. I haven't had the time. I just got the message today. What we're going to talk about is building blocks for a properly configured enterprise Windows. This is a list. We'll go through the list, but just as kind of an agenda that we'll start with. So we'll talk about BitLocker, principle of least privilege, patching, directory tiering, PAWs, baselines, binary control, aka allow listing, whitelisting, device control, MFA, security operations center, XDR. And as we only have very limited time, I'm actually speaking next Wednesday in Estonia for Telia is running some cybersecurity event. I'm speaking there, and they basically want exactly the same content that I have, but they give every speaker 20 minutes including Q&A. What? I really need to speak to Mikko because he knows like TED Talk 18 minutes is the most demanding you can ever. The shorter the talk is, the harder it is. I can speak the whole day, that's fine because you can always change your pace. But 20 minutes, I don't know how I'm going to stick this in. I speak a lot faster. Encryption. We'll start with that. There is no security in Windows unless you have BitLocker. There is no reason to say that I don't have BitLocker because I have no data, because BitLocker's main function is not data encryption. BitLocker is very misunderstood. People think BitLocker encrypts your data, but BitLocker's main function is to guarantee the integrity of your operating system. It's like epox. It's like glue. You take your laptop, you could put a very good configuration in, and you dip it in glue. So you make it tamper-proof. Otherwise, if you don't, let's say, Tommy puts in a great whitelisting solution, and then someone takes the computer, goes to see Windows System 32 App Locker, deletes the files, detaches from network, and there's no whitelisting. There's no integrity in Windows without this. It's super funny. I speak to a lot of big company CXO people about why we need BitLocker. Which is funny because your grandmother goes to Gigant here and walks out with a computer and it's always encrypted. So what the hell? Why do I have to stand in front of enterprise engineers explaining that we need to have BitLocker now? But we have no important data. We store everything in the cloud. Like, cool. So remember that the main function of BitLocker is not data encryption. That's the main thing to remember from this, okay? Because that's the biggest misunderstanding people have, is that it would have something to do with data. That's a nice bonus you get, but the more important part is the integrity of the operating system and your hard disk, all right? Well, there is 800,000 devices lost or stolen every year from bigger airports in Europe and US, so yeah, surely you want to protect your stuff. I heard someone yell out loud when... You have to remember, I'm a Windows guy. So the good thing is there is nothing which is unsexier than a Lenovo ThinkPad. That's like contraception, honestly. That's just that. No one approaches you with that thing, okay? I have seen so many laptops stolen at airports. So many. Go and just look at the security point there. That's the place where they always steal them because it's the easiest place. That's the only place where you, even if you were a security superstar, you will be detached from your laptop. You are in different queues. The laptop goes through that other screening device and you go through that other screening device and you can't help it. I've had my share of fun with these guys. I had a USB killer with me in Oslo Gardermoen. And that's a very funny case when I hope many know what USB killer is. Just fries your motherboard. I had one, and I'm in Oslo Gardermoen, and I had no idea they're very strict about this. And they started going through my stuff. And then they take the USB killer like, what is this? It's a USB key. Prove it. Like, my options are limited. Fry my own computer, pretend I don't care and get into the country, or can you try it? Anyway, they always steal them the same way. They take the tray, computers in the tray. When it comes out, someone takes an empty tray, put it on top so that the laptop is in between of the two trays, and then they lift them and walk away. It's the only place with that much surveillance, but it's the only place where you have to. The good thing is they're stolen mainly only from women and only Apple devices. So only MacBooks. I've never seen anything stolen except MacBooks, which is kind of funny. But I know it's not the reality. 800,000 devices is a lot more as well. But it is interesting that it is so much more valuable to someone. No one wants my poor whatever. I think it's so cool. Come on, like an OLED screen now, finally. And two of my new colleagues, they took Dell machines, and I'm a god now. So it's like, nothing works here. It doesn't work with the monitor. I was like, mine works just fine. Secure decommissioning. People, this is a super funny conversation to have with people. How do you securely decommission the disk? You take Windows Vista. I know you're scared already, but take Windows Vista's format.com and it can securely wipe your disk. You do not need to buy Blanco or Delete or whatever super delete software. I get this every freaking week. There's a question in my inbox that, can you recommend a good Linux disk wipe solution? No, you don't need it. Use format.com with your like Windows PE or your installation media of Windows, whatever. Plug your hard drive into a dock. Say format D. It tells you, we found BitLocker on the disk, so we wiped the key securely. The good thing is that it only needs to wipe 128 bits to 256 bits. And it has to do it 7 times with plain zeros, 7 times random values, 7 times blah, 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 blah. But that takes 2 seconds because we're talking about 100 bits. And now I'm waiting for this. Every single time I explain this, I'm just begging that there's a security guru in the room who will be, our standard does not allow that. We do not trust that. I was like, yes, but then you couldn't use BitLocker in the beginning. My ears go red because that's actually the stuff I was talking about yesterday to Yle, and that's why I'm under DDoS. Yeah, yes. Yes. I got a comment from the, let's say, military last night. Sami, good article on Yle. Really bad OPSEC. But yes, that was exactly what I was referring to in a situation where you have to make things unusable in a matter of 2 seconds. Yes. Take the server. It's exactly the same that happens to your iPhone if you sell it. They just wipe the key. And the good thing there is that as long as your security policy states that BitLocker is acceptable for your encryption, that means that you trust BitLocker. And if someone now says, no, we can't trust that, we have to wipe every block, then you couldn't use BitLocker in the beginning because you're effectively saying you do not trust the encryption. It wasn't your choice in the beginning then. And yes, it's the fastest way of doing that. Many times faster to actually just tell people, just if you don't have BitLocker, just BitLocker it and wipe it. Anyway, that's the first one. Principle of least privilege. My precious. I've been teaching and preaching this for 20 years now. I started my projects. This year only I've taken away more than 1 million end users of their admin rights. I am the most hated person in any company. Okay? I was in Tikkurila doing a session for 400 people. They paid me a lot of money. They had already taken everything out, and they paid me a lot of money to go in front of the audience and say it was my idea. I'm not kidding. That's really cool. Think about it. That's how much people hate people who take away your rights. I tweeted like a few months ago, first time, that I got really pissed at this topic, and I tweeted out that admin rights are not human rights. Okay? Because this is like... people are so... I don't know why. I'm so old that I understand nowadays that the more I have privileges, the more I have to work. I'm actually really happy at my colleague just called me yesterday. Can you try to log on to our Azure this and that because I don't have enough privileges? Like, I have no privileges. I would never take privileges if I don't have to. Because I used to be that guy. Think about this, I was 16 when I was a domain admin for PepsiCo, the soda company. I was 16 years old. I would take taxis everywhere where the Fujitsu consultants would as well, and everyone was asking, like, why is Sami taking a taxi every time? And then someone goes, well, he doesn't have a driver's license yet. What? I was responsible for 40,000 computers in the nowadays EMEA region. I had basically domain admin written on my forehead. I was so proud. I had these powers that most did not. Nowadays, I'm the totally opposite. I will never ever take powers unless I have to. I will gladly do what my contract says that I'm actually hired for, and not all that extra stuff. Okay, I stopped doing this in 2002 because I had a computer at home, and my girlfriend and I, we broke up later. I took away her admin right. No. But I did take away her admin rights and mine. So I woke up in the morning, Outlook, open up Outlook smileys. Hello, Sami, how are you? What a wonderful morning. I was like, what the? Darling, what's the thing with the yellow smileys in Outlook? I just installed Outlook smileys. They're so nice. Your morning is so much better. Keep them to your own profile. While I said that, I realized that the only technical way in Windows to keep things in your own profile is to remove admin rights. Then you can't write to all users. So I removed admin rights. Perfect, that's great. My dad used to sell computers, so I had access to very fast computers. And I was one of those people who would reinstall Windows every 6 to 12 months. We all know Windows works better when you just reinstall it. That computer, I was happy with the performance, and the next time I reinstalled it was in January 2007. That was 5 years later. In my head, that's 5 to 10 less reinstallations of Windows. I'm lazy. I would never be admin on my box because I don't want it to break. I like working things, except for my customers because I teach troubleshooting, so it's counterproductive. As like some people ask me when I travel the world, they ask me, why aren't you talking about Linux? You're a Finn, you should be teaching Linux. I'm like, hey, dude, I teach troubleshooting. It's like, come on, like a classroom, black belt troubleshooting Linux. No one came. So, okay, fair enough. There's problems there as well. But anyway, so the good thing for me is it's easier for me to go to a company and take away admin rights because I'm not doing it because I'm a bad security guy. That's never been my reason for it. I'm going in and removing those because people are more productive and things work better. It's a lot more approachable than being someone who says, no, you might do stupid things so you can't have rights here. That's like the normal security no department who just says no to freaking everything. So I really like it, and I've been preaching this for a long time. I had a great example for this, okay? This is what users think. If I don't have admin rights, I can't fix my computer. In reality, if you don't have admin rights, you can't break your computer, okay? I have a customer of 35,000 computers in US and Germany, 65% less reinstallations of operating systems since we removed admin rights. They called me and gave me the best feedback ever. They said, Sami, thanks to your project, we were able to buy a shorter desk. And they actually sent me pictures, because they had a service desk where they re-imaged Windows. And then we took away admin rights, and now they had a shorter desk. They had room for ping pong. So, honestly, it's not that. We have a Danish customer with 10,000 computers. They have 75% less service desk tickets after removing admin rights. Think about that. If someone thinks Beyond Trust or PolicyPack, CyberArk, whatever, that those are so costly, think about it. 75% less service desk tickets. Everything's cheap compared to that. Who knows Nestori Syynimaa? Nestori became an MVP a few years ago. I nominated him, by the way. You can thank me for that, okay? I've used Nestori a lot as a speaker in my I'm a chairman for a US conference in Orlando in 2 weeks and in Redmond after next summer. And I used him as a speaker a lot. He's very famous nowadays with AAD internals. He joined MVP program a few years ago, and we have an MVP chat on WhatsApp. I know. Anyway, and we have a chat there, and we had a new MVP joining in, and the new MVP comes in and says, "Oh shit, my Windows is again just like so crappy and slow, and I have to buy a Mac." And there's Nestori Syynimaa. No, you just do what Sami says. Remove your admin rights. You don't need a Mac. I was so proud. He's so smart, and if he tells it like that to everyone, I really liked it. I mean, great, someone preaches this for me. I have a way of using my computer. So my computer, I need admin rights. And you know, this is the time when you understand that a speaker's tool is not a boom mic, because this is when I want to do a demo. Okay. So I would never log on as an admin. Windows is so fast. Let's index. Let's press Control Shift click. Okay, we should get an admin prompt somewhere here. There's my. Okay. So that wants my admin rights. I'm not an admin here, but how I've always logged on to my Windows is I have a limited user and I have an admin user. Okay? I love the demo because you get to do this for like 10,000 people in an audience, and you get to show them the finger and everyone is just laughing like, oh, that's so funny. Give us more. Sorry. I'm trying to behave. I honestly was 1 year under investigation for violating the code of conduct for speakers at Orlando Ignite. So I'm trying to behave, but anyway, and it's not a joke. Honestly, that's a perfect thing. If you have a fingerprint reader, use it. Normal user, whenever you need admin. Okay? That's how Nestori teaches his kids. That's awesome. They actually said that there online as well. I teach my kids nowadays to use the admin finger. That's not what I meant to do. Oh, wow. So what do you get with not being an admin? Forget about, everyone talks about this, we get less malware. Cool, that's true. Weapons don't work. Mimikatz can't do the same stuff as it can with an admin. Yes, that's great. And it is true, but concentrate on everything else. Get better performance. Your SSD lives longer if you're not an admin. Take process monitor. Make a filter that says access denied. Show me only when result is access denied. I call it the shitometer, okay? Leave it running there, and you can see all the write operations that did not work because you're not an admin. The less you write to an SSD, the less it wears out. If nothing else works, this works. Even for devs. I have a German dev that came to me and said, Sami, I want to get rid of my admin rights. I almost fell apart. Like, what? You're a developer and you want to get rid of your admin rights? I've been waiting for this moment for 20 years. No, but he said his SSD lives longer. Yes, I want it too then. Okay, fair enough. Less reinstallations, more productive users, less malware. You get to be lazier as admins. Microsoft did a great experiment. They took 2 Azure containers, dumped them in front of Amsterdam, 10 meters below the ocean surface, dumped them there, and kept them there for 2 years. After 2 years, research showed that those containers that were underwater for 2 years, they had 9% less problems than anything on the surface. Why? First assumption, cooling, because it's in water. No, that's because people weren't able to touch them. Okay? That's not a joke. Patching. This is from our internal, not internal, it's public, our threat intelligence report for 2021. So, although ransomware remains the top threat to medium and large corporations, if we look at this one here, the last one, that's the most important one. 2021 was the first year that the initial vector for accessing a company became to be more probably patching or unpatched vulnerability than phishing. Until now, for the last 10 years, phishing has been ruling this game forever. Last year was the first time that patching is more important in this case. We currently give our customers 2 days to patch things that are somehow internet connected. What's internet connected? Super funny. Yesterday I went to a big city here in Finland. I love this demo. You can do this to anyone basically, at least in Finland. You go to a customer, you use Shodan, and you show how much RDP ports they have listening in their environment. And they won't believe you because they're like, no, our firewall lets no RDP connections in. And then the problem is easy to point out. Everyone is now mobile. Everyone's working from their home. Everyone uses a 4G or a 5G modem, and Windows by default opens RDP to that interface. Which means that most customers, I can tell you about maybe 8 out of 10 customers that I visited during the last 6 months, they have completely improperly configured firewalls. 4G modems are just, the interfaces have RDP open. So, internet facing, of course that's what we kind of think about, but internet facing in a work from home kind of a world might be totally different than you think. Last year, 59% of vulnerabilities would be mitigated by removing admin rights. Let's play King of CISOs. King of CISOs, in the left-hand corner here, we have a CISO who gave up on patching. He doesn't like patching at all. He stopped patching completely. But he has no admin rights for any of the endpoints. In the right-hand corner, we have CISO who is the best in patching ever. Every month he's completely patched. Super good, okay? But he gives admin rights to end users. So end users get admin rights, and you have full patching, or you have no patching, and you don't have admin rights. Probably got mixed up there already myself. Anyway, if we use statistics and mathematics, the CISO who has no admin rights but does no patching is more secure when we look at the vulnerabilities. Because after 2 weeks, on average, the other one has 50 vulnerabilities that he hasn't patched, and the other one is 56% protected. So he's better. just to kind of also prove the point that it's a security thing as well, not just what I'm talking about here. Directory tiering and PAWs. You have to tier your directories. I guess everyone knows this, hopefully. So every Active Directory that I build, this is an on-prem. The most important thing you have, if you do a single thing for your company's security. In 2021, I was part of 21 incident response cases, and 19 out of 21 would have been prevented if domain admins were not allowed to log on to endpoints. So if you don't do anything else, do that. It's the number one thing to protect any environment. Make sure domain admins cannot log on to endpoints. And I love you taking pictures of my slides, but the artist has to say it's not ready yet. I will give you a hint, okay? So you don't take too many pictures. This doesn't work. Everyone calls me back. Sami, we did it. Now I'm logging onto an endpoint which has management tools that require domain admin rights, but I cannot log on because I don't have the allow log on locally, right? Yes, this doesn't work without the PAW, privileged access workstations. That's what makes it work. That's what people mess up this with. They try tiering, they forget the PAW, although they're meant to work together, okay? Oops, sorry. Now it's ready. I can sign it later if you want. I'm very good at drawing, as you can see. So privileged access workstations. The same applies for the cloud, except we only usually have two tiers. We only have the tenant and we have the endpoints. We do policies that make sure global admins, which are local admins by default on any Azure AD joint device, they are prevented by policy from logging on to endpoints. 3 lines of settings, super trivial. It used to be harder in the cloud, easy on-prem. Now it's completely opposite. Azure is just a few clicks. You got everything set up. We need workstation admins that can take care of endpoints, and then we need the concept of the PAW. Now it's ready. I can kind of like at this point tell you that I can share the slides as well if you want. But just wanted to see you take pictures. It's so funny. No, honestly, I can share them. It's no secret here. Limit the attack surface. There is no more effective way than going into a company, take the first computer you can find in the lobby. There's a lobby, whatever, lobbyist. No, that's a very wrong word. Some person working in the lobby, and you go to their computer, open up RDP. If you can RDP from that computer to your domain controller, you're screwed. That's bye-bye your environment. Okay? Test that. Take a computer somewhere, try to RDP into a domain controller. If you can, you're screwed. The easiest way to take down an attack surface of a company is to do the PAW, where we limit the attack surface by making sure that you can't use accounts that can take down your environment for logging onto devices that can access malware. Don't read Facebook on the same computer that you use to take down your Active Directory. If your computer has a big red button of decommission AD, you should not be doing other stuff with it. I just did an audit for a big Finnish medical company. We're gonna do allow listing. Top 5 most used apps. About 8,000 users. Top 5 most used apps. 2 line of business applications. Then we had 3D Pony Simulator, Roblox, and Movie Star Planet. That's medical. So, honestly, you should not use that computer for the... When I was doing this session, I told you I had to tell them it was my idea to get rid of the admin rights, because it's better that they hate me instead of hating the IT department. So, the funniest thing was I was explaining this, and this one guy got very upset, and he stood up from his chair and he yelled at me, "You make this sound like I'm not supposed to do anything but work on my computer." Wow. Really? Company paid work computer. You're supposed to work on? How silly is that? Don't let computers that can take down your environment talk to Facebook. I love these few slides that I have done, and these are precious. RDP, Like Mikko says, it stands for Ransomware Deployment Protocol. It really does. Microsoft documentation for Server 2000, 22 years ago. That documentation states that every Windows 2000 server has 2 terminal services connections. Nowadays we call it remote desktop, but it used to be called terminal services. It has 2 terminal services connections for emergency purposes only. But Europeans are RDP people. We want to pet every server one by one with our RDP. My precious, I'll patch you now. Then I patch you. Okay? I have a friend working for Outlook.com. They patch their servers every month. And then the weekend before Patch Tuesday, they patch server group A for Outlook.com. That's 150,000 servers. Think about RDP. No. That's like Jeffrey Snower says. You don't treat your servers like pets, you treat them like cattle. Don't pet them with RDP. You PowerShell the hell out of them, okay? And you use RSAT, Remote Server Administration Tools, or Windows Admin Center. They have 16.7 million licenses. If my company, my biggest customer is 550,000 endpoints. 550,000 endpoints. And if they would work like Europeans do, they wouldn't do anything the whole day but call each other. Hi, can you log off the server? I can't fit in. Hi, there's no free sessions. Can you please log off? Hi, can I throw you out? There's no free sessions. How is it possible that you have computers that are supposed to scale for millions of objects, but you have 2 management interfaces? Something does not add up. That's because it was never meant for that. It's an emergency console. You install a privileged access workstation where you install your management tools. Servers are headless, stupid things that don't even have a keyboard. But because I have to please my European customers as well, I have another picture. Jump server. Europeans love jump servers. It was 20 years ago, it was put in because it made it easier to put all the tools on one point, have that desktop set up properly for managing, and it was easy to control with a firewall because you only have one entry point. So that was great. I don't need that for anything. I would rather do it without, but if my customers insist, we just make sure that you cannot access the jump server from anything but a PAW. This PAW on my machine, for example, is a virtual machine on Hyper-V. Yes. And someone's going to say, oh my God, you can't do that. You have to put it on the base. It has to be on the host operating system. You can do management there, and then you run Office in the virtual machine. Well, even Microsoft internally since 2016 has said that you don't. Plus, the real threat, someone puts a keylogger. Yes, a physical keylogger, you lost the game, I agree. You never ever get admin rights to your PAW. Never ever. Show me that keylogger that works without somehow accessing the kernel first. Because if we have if we have binary control that controls binaries in the user mode, and you don't have admin rights, show me the money. I'm happy to be wrong. We do this all with IPsec. Zero Trust, such a great name. Zero Trust, I always tell people, like, when you say we're going to deploy Zero Trust, it sounds like no one trusts anyone and my boss hates me and I'm a horrible person and blah, blah, blah. I always tell people, why don't you sell it like we're going to make a system that makes it possible for you to work as securely and effectively from Starbucks as it does from the office. The exact same thing, except very much friendlier way of getting people on board. Trust me. So, Zero Trust, one core aspect is microsegmentation. Microsegmentation with IPsec is free since 2000. You can microsegment as much as you want. It's in the license, doesn't cost you anything. I have deployed more IPsec in the last 2 years than I have in my whole career before. It's now cool again. I only deploy it here. Remember, it's only between that management point and the services. It's not the point where people are, oh no, IPsec is encryption, horrible, takes performance, overhead, ridiculous, printers don't work, Linux doesn't work, Mac OS doesn't work, only Windows works, nothing else works. Everyone is panicking. Dudes, just calm down. We're not doing an IPsec deployment for the whole this whole system. We're doing an IPsec deployment just for that. I'm over time, okay? I have a few more slides. Don't do, just remember the whole idea inside of this is to keep malware from privileges. Contain. Places where you use excessive privileges are the ones that cannot talk to the internet. You can't log on as a domain admin to a workstation because that will be prevented by group policy. That's very important. But you can log on as a domain admin to a PAW with the big difference that on that PAW, the domain admins are not admins. Whenever you touch malicious content, you don't get privileges, okay? Contained threats. You can get your attack surface down 95% almost in a heartbeat. You used to have 10,000 computers that can take down your domain controller and you limit it to 200 people in IT, for example. It's really hard to beat that if you think percentage-wise how much tighter your environment is. Anyway, a trick that I would like everyone to have is AppLocker. Everyone seems to hate it, but that's because everyone did it wrong. I did this for City of Helsinki. We started off with 8,000 lines in binary. So 8,000 lines of whitelisted things. This is the way everyone did it back in 2005. F-Secure had their own AppLocker. Symantec had their own AppLocker. Everyone tried binary control. Everyone hated it, and everyone gave up. Because you list 800 applications. And then it's Patch Tuesday, and you list them again. This is what people did. Because they did hash values for every binary. No, we remove admin rights, and we put stuff like this in. This allows you to run anything from program files and Windows, or if it's signed. We have 1 million pieces of malware per day, which only 5% of is signed. And out of that 5%, only a few are actually signed by a trusted entity. So it's even better than the number I'm giving. I'm not exaggerating. I'm just playing it down. But if you think about it, if you say I only allow binary from program files and Windows, and I take away your admin rights, how would you run malware? I know someone knows. That's a LOL bin, living off the land binary. That's denied by AppLocker, so nope. In RAM only malware. Someone would say, well, PowerShell is denied, WMIC is denied. I did this for City of Helsinki. We had 8,000 lines in the list, and when I was done with this back in 2009, we had 72 lines. Same protection level. Yeah, of course. So you can try running something in the browser. Yeah, and browser's good thing, of course, is that it has integrity levels. One of the most misunderstood features of Windows, you should check up integrity levels and Google Chrome, because Google Chrome uses it way more than Windows does. But integrity levels were introduced in Windows in 2006, and that actually makes it really hard for any code to really infect from that, because the integrity level of the code is lower than the integrity level of your documents. I'm sorry, but I'm always talking about ransomware. I mean, that's the most common example. You can't really encrypt out of on the fly because your integrity level is lower. But you can, of course, get it saved first, then run it, and all that stuff. So that's why we have onions, we have peels, we have different layers for security. I always said that my job is to take these 2 hours down. Our job in TrueSec in Finland is blue teaming. My job is technically making sure that we do correct things. We try to make our SOC's life easier. So I always say that my job is now to extend these 2 hours that they're talking about here. Because if you say that 58% of these breached networks could be fully compromised in less than 2 hours, we all know that all slowness in APIs and everything, it is very difficult for a SOC to react fast enough to the threats nowadays. So what I'm trying to do is extend that time it takes for the SOC to kick in and catch it before it does something. We all know we assume breach. We build everything assuming that we get breached. I just make it slower. That's my job. That's why I try. Get in. Oh no, I can't do admin rights there. I can't get a domain. I can't actually RDP and laptop. And finally they crawl in. But I make it so much slower that our SOC catches it before it happens. I used to be the guy who says I'll build you an environment that we're building it so that you wouldn't get breached. I guess we will at some point. That was a long talk. I would speak as long as I easily many hours about this. I think the most important saying in security anytime ever is that in security don't let perfect be the enemy of good. If you can't make a perfect PAW, I get this. People ask me, why does PAW fail? We tried it so many times. I always say PAW fails because you read Microsoft's instructions. Stop doing that. That's stupid. Because their PAW documentation is built for military. You have 7 laptops in your backpack, for God's sake. 1 for email and 1 for tier 0 in production and 1 in research and blah, blah, blah. And then, we really like ultrabooks. Surprise, surprise. So, no surprise it doesn't work. PAW is a concept. I teach concepts. If you can't get rid of everyone's admin rights, take most. If you can't make a bulletproof app locker, build as best as you can. Block PowerShell from limited users. PowerShell only works with middle finger. Okay? Yes, good, thank you. So try something. PAW concept is a concept where you say, before this session, all people in the room could RDP into our domain controller. Now, we say only our IT folks here can. You're missing the greatness of having 2 computers where you contain malware from your rights, but you still have about 95 less people who can destroy your environment. Do something. Don't stop because it's not perfect. All right? I will have to let someone else speak as well, sadly. You can reach me via email. My new email address is samilaiho@rusek.com. You can find me on Twitter. I have a free newsletter, and I have a free code for everyone who wants to join. My trainings are all available as video on demand. You can get a 1 free month if you want. That's it. Thank you so much.
Well. Any questions for Sami? Does anyone have questions?
If the admin rights are not a human rights, what about hedgehog rights?
Oh, you had that coming for me. Thank you. That's why I was under investigation for violating the code of conduct for speakers. I did this middle finger thing. It was my first demo in 2015 at Ignite, and I did this and I was scared to death because I was a newbie as a speaker, and I had this how to behave as a speaker. Don't speak politics, religion, sex, don't offend anyone. And I'm like, my only demo is. So I was really scared. And then I did that. And then they told me in the evals that you need to come back we'll come back next year to see how Mr. Laiho does this with the facial recognition. Because then I had to have a normal face and an admin face. I have a limited face by design, but I need an admin face. So then I got this working. This works. You can do this. This works. So normal, limited, and then you elevate. I started with this. But I was in an airport lounge, and because I had a Surface Book for a while, and people actually you might not believe it, but Apple people started to speak to me. This had never happened before, and I was in an airport lounge, and I normally had a Lenovo, and they would never approach me. But now I had a Surface Book, and suddenly these Apple people started coming. They were like, "Oh, is this the new Surface Book?" Yeah, it is. Wow. Is it really more expensive than a Mac? Like, yeah, it is. Oh, wow. Must be great then. And then I started doing this with my computer. So I lost my friends. So then I changed to Homer. Because then I can just be here like, Windows. But after that, they said that you have to come back to Ignite with the MFA demo. So that's This sounds too much like a paid question. But I honestly did not pay him, okay. But I did a MFA demo with a live hedgehog. So live hedgehogs have the same paw fingerprints as humans. So you can actually use a hedgehog's paw to authenticate to Windows Hello. So you can have your own security hedgehog. So whenever you need to elevate, you take your hedgehog. Think about it. Expiry, 5 to 6 years, depends how well you treat it. Tamper protection, hell yeah. I thought I was going to be rich by harvesting these security hedgehogs, but I'm still working, so. But yes, that was super fun, but I was also banned from Microsoft events for a year. Because you can't bring live animals into the conference center. It's very much forbidden. So I had to have a guy who was there and see, because there was a dog, a security dog. You know those hedgehogs smell horrible. You can smell it like a mile away. And that dog was circling around the conference center. And so we had one guy who was just like scouting. Okay, the dog's out. And then I ran with the hedgehog into the room and I hid it under the podium. But I got into trouble. So it's super funny, but got me into trouble. If you see Microsoft events and the PowerPoint at the end says no animals were hurt during this PowerPoint presentation, that was me.
Hi, Sami. Is this on? Yes. I have to speak very loudly. I think many of us are struggling with, let's say, some loved ones or relatives who are not that computer savvy and would really like to reduce the attack surface on their machines as well. What would be the easy tips to do? I obviously know about the removal of admin rights and giving them the separate admin account, but anything else?
Tommy? What I tend to do is, my motto, my slogan has always been, if you can't block, then you contain. What I would say is do a firewall rule which disallows PowerShell to talk outside. It's a very good simple tip, because then you can cut the connections to the command centers, and you can do that with a pro or a home version. Anyone who's not having a home version, remember one thing that I didn't have time for, baselines. Trust this coming from a guy who works with the product group in Redmond. Microsoft Windows 11 or 10 Enterprise has Windows 10 or 11 Home security settings. There's no difference between the security settings if you buy a Home or an Enterprise. You have to install baselines, otherwise you're doing all cool security stuff, yet you're running Windows with freaking Windows 10 Home settings. Install baselines, CIS or Microsoft baselines. That's not a home tip. But the PowerShell one is.
Could you have a Azure cloud-based PAW?
In a way, yes. People are lazy as hell, which means that people will try to find ways of making this possible to manage your computers and servers from your home, from your summer cottage. I tell them you have to have this physical device to destroy your environment. You have to have this physical device to manage your environment. I tell them that. What they tell me is, Sami, I need to go and make a group policy. So where's your paw? I'll team viewer into it. Like, what? That's exactly what I wanted you to stop. Or I have big companies. I'm not going to mention their names. But we have big IT companies in Finland. They come to me and say, yes, we install everything on a Hyper-V, and then we use a Chromebook to remote desktop into it, or whatever. I mean, I really want you to have control on the asset that starts. It's called clean source principle. We can make it secure enough so we can all accept it. Again, we're stuck with the last thing. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. If I can get you to use a PAW, which is an Azure virtual desktop, if I can make you use that, and we can secure who can connect to it, because we can do that then with conditional access, I will probably at some point accept it, and the good thing is you will keep using it because you like it enough. I also want to secure the country. I mean, I want people to do something instead of not doing anything because it's too difficult.
That's the balance, and of course having like hundreds of admins, like managing hundreds of physical laws, tens of companies is not easy.
I know. And when you have a person who manages exactly like tens of companies. Do you have a PAW for every company, or do you? I mean, yes, they're all obstacles, but let's try to get the concept. I hate nothing but other people taking my time, so I feel really bad if we don't stop now.
Yeah, we will stop now. Thank you very much, Sami, for coming. I'm